Alrighty, what's happening, people? How we doing? How we living? How we feeling? Hopefully you're having a fantastic end of your day, or maybe you're in a different part of the world and it's the beginning of your day like me, or midway through, whatever the case may be. Hopefully you're having a great one and you're ready for a good stream tonight. I'm going live about 30 minutes early because we've got a lot of Dynasty teams to review, and I'm going to try and get through as many as I can today. You guys know last week I did a similar stream, went through about 5 teams. I'm hoping at minimum to get through 5 teams tonight. But do me a massive favor, if you're hanging out, go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know in the chat who I'm hanging out with. If we've got people here, say what's up, say what's up. Because we're going to have a good time looking at people's teams and hopefully helping people's teams also improve, because that is the end goal. The end goal is ultimately to help people build a really good Dynasty team. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. What's up, Styles? Welcome in. Yes, sir. Early start. Going to try and get through as many teams as we possibly can tonight. But, all right. Y'all know the deal. I'm gonna get into the first team here in a second, but if anyone is watching and they want to know how they can get their team reviewed, very, very simple. All you need to do is be a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND on the Flock Fantasy website. You can see that direct link. I just put it in the chat, but become a Mother Flocker member. You have to use the code LAND. Once you've done that, go to your account at the top right, link your Discord, and you should instantly be able to access all of our premium Discord channels, including the roster submissions tab. What's up, Kevin, my dude? Grinding season, that's right. What's up, Dane? Looking forward to seeing what's going down today with teams. Yes, sir. Thanks for joining us. What's up, Seth? Is Beth? What's Gucci, people? Welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for hanging out. All right, the first team that we're going to be grading today is from Rojo Grande 23. And again, everyone's teams that we're going to be looking at today, these are all people who are supporting the channel, supporting the cause, if you will, helping the channel grow. So Rojo Grande, we're going to be looking at his team first. It is a 2 quarterback, so that means not SuperFlex. Yes, 2 quarterback. 2 quarterback, 3 flex, start 12, no tight end premium. Right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So technically start 10, but it's start 12 because of the kicker and defense. They've got a kicker and defense in their league, but technically it's a start 10 with 3 flex spots. So that's good to know. All right, he says, playoff team for the last 3 years, won the championship in the first year, acquired Justin Jefferson and the 101 during the last few weeks of the season, just traded Kyle Pitts for the 109, 207, and Wicks. Half of the league is a little tough to get on the phone, but I've traded at least with one of most every team in the league, so the relationships are there and positive. Big fan of the channel and most recent video detailing some of the deep sleepers in the class. You love to see that. And he says, congrats on the baby Badaki. Baby Badaki is getting some love on the stream. You love to see it. But yes, so if Rojo Grande is with us today in the stream, let me know. I know not everybody is able to make the stream when we're looking at their teams and breaking it down, but if he is there, let me know in the chat. But that's some great context to know. Again, 2 quarterbacks, start 10 technically, no tight end premium. It's a competing team, but he has made some moves recently. So we are Isaiah 54-7 is the team name. Isaiah 54-7. They have you ranked 3rd out of 10. So keep in mind, 10-team league. They have you ranked 3rd in the power rankings with a grade of 86 out of 100. So team looks pretty strong on paper. But again, 2 quarterback league, not SuperFlex. We've got Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Drew Lock, Bailey Zappi, Joe Flacco. I would say in a 2 quarterback league, even more than a SuperFlex league, that quarterback 3 position is more important than it's ever been in a format like this. I feel pretty good about your first 2 quarterbacks. Obviously, you've got a stud in Justin Herbert. Geno Smith is just, there's a lot of question marks moving forward. I think it's most likely that he is the starter for them this year, but it's a new coaching staff. Anything is possible. It's a deep quarterback class as well, so would it surprise any of us if they go out and get a McCarthy or a Bo, one of these names that they like, maybe Michael Penix in the second round. So I think anyone out there at the moment could say Geno Smith is a good quarterback in the NFL, but there's also some questions around his longevity in the league. So ideally, if we could add a QB3 we feel good about, I'd like that move. At the running back spot, we've got Ken Walker, Nick Chubb, Rashawn Johnson, Austin Eckler, Zeke. So you can tell this team has been competing for a while because a lot of these are veteran names that are really starting to slow down. We saw that with Eckler this year, clearly with Zeke, and obviously Nick Chubb. We don't really even know if he's going to be on that team. I mean, at the moment, someone talked about this in one of our recent videos where we ranked the running backs. I mean, is it possible that they consider Nick Chubb a cut candidate after his injury? With the production they got from the running back position without him, clearly it wasn't the same, but they still made the playoffs. We'll have to talk about that. But you have enough in this running back room where I don't feel like I'm panicking necessarily. Between Zeke, well, really between Eckler and Chubb, you would hope that at least one of those guys can give you RB2 type of starting opportunities. But at the wide receiver spot, clearly a strength of yours: Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, Wicks. You've got a great group there. Really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that I like. And 4 that almost anyone in Dynasty would feel comfortable building around. You've got Trey McBride, consensus top 3 Dynasty tight end for almost everyone. And Michael Mayer, one of my favorite tight ends to buy low on right now. So this is a very, very good team that you've got rocking with here. And we have some draft capital as well. We have the 101, the 109, the 207, and the 208, as well as the 407. To me, this team is in a position where I probably would go Caleb Williams at the 101. I'm not going to sit here and say that Marvin won't improve your team, but if you think about your current team, and like we always say, Marvin and Caleb, like they're in the same tier for us. There's not a specific way that I feel like you have to go. And it's one of those rare years where you can probably go what you need more as a position rather than what's the best player available. Well, they're both the best player available at this point in this draft with what we currently know. So again, thinking about your league, it's a start 10. So at the moment, minus kicker and defense. At the moment, we've got Herbert, Fields, that's our 2. Then we've got Walker and one of these names, right? That's 4. Then we've got the ability to start 5 wide receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a tight end in McBride. So that's already a pretty good lineup. And with Justin Fields, y'all know we love Justin Fields on this channel, but we can also recognize that his future is in question at this point. He's not getting well, look, I'm not going to say the Bears are 100% not going to move on with him, but it feels very likely that the Justin Fields era in Chicago is over, in my personal opinion. So you have to ask yourself, how many quarterbacks have been traded on their rookie deal and then been given a huge contract later where they're the franchise quarterback? It's not happened many times in NFL history. You guys let me know in the comments if you disagree or if there's a name out there that makes sense, but it will be outliers that we're talking about at that point. Love Justin Fields. He's a great fantasy quarterback, but having a combination of Fields and Smith as your kind of quarterback 2-3 is not enough in a Superflex, and even in a 2 quarterback, we go even further. It's certainly not enough in that format. So I'm going to say Caleb Williams is probably your best bet at the 101, in my humble opinion. At the 109, you've got a lot of options with that pick right there. Best player available for me, I'll pull up my rankings so I can have a look, but it's probably going to be a wide receiver. I mean, I don't personally, at this moment, and everything is fluid, but at this moment, I don't personally envision a running back being worthy of the 109. I know a lot of people are saying Jonathan Brooks. I love Jonathan Brooks, but at the moment, I don't personally envision that. So at the 109, I think you're looking at a Troy Franklin, a Brian Thomas, maybe Brock Bowers if, he doesn't go top 10 and, it's a non-tight end premium format for you. You've also got your Ladd McConkeys. You're also in that range where you've got a Bo Nix, a J.J. McCarthy if they go in the first round. But in your format, I assume if they were to go in the first round, that would push these other names down the board. Your Bowers, your Franklins, your Brian Thomases, your Ladd McConkeys. I think you could even consider an Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell there. Now look, if let's say we get a surprise and one of these running backs go top 40, right? One of these guys is like a top 10 pick in the second round of the NFL draft. If it's Benson, Brooks, name a running back, then I think your team's in a position where they could take a shot on that at the 109. But at the moment here today, I don't think that's the best player available. What I will say is at the 207 and the 208, those are some great opportunities for you to take a shot at RB. Who fell down the boards a little bit in people's eyes? Was it Benson? Did he fall for whatever reason? Was it a Blake Corum? Was it a Braylon Allen? A Marshawn Lloyd, a Bucky Irving? That's a great spot. I mean, even Audric Estime, if he gets decent capital, Jalen Wright. Those are the kind of names you could kind of take a shot on there. Ideally, you want to hit a Tajay Spears type of pick here, right? Tajay was going late second last year. I definitely over the whole report that came out about his knees, that definitely played too much on my mind. So whatever the reports are that come about certain running back who gets day 2 capital that falls there, take a shot. Hey, you might hit a Tank Bigsby. You might hit a Tajay Spears, but your roster's in a position where you're so strong at wide receiver. You'll get Caleb at the 101 that you can take some shots on running backs in the late second round there. Now, I did notice that we don't have our 2025 first, which is seemingly becoming a trend. It's becoming a trend on our team reviews where people don't have their first round picks. And I'm curious as to why. I mean, every league is going to be different, right? Everyone's going to have different reasons. But that happening, as well as a bunch of trades I've seen in the community, led me to do a deep dive research on the 2025 class. And that's what led me to release this video where it's titled Exploit Your League Mates. But regardless, we don't have that pick. So, and it's not that I would even suggest it with this team. There's no reason not to be all in this year, right? So in saying that, you don't have to make these moves right now, but let's say we are in week 4 and there's a veteran running back on the market, a Connor, a Kamara, whatever their name is, and you feel like it could really improve your chances to go out and win a championship. Well, we're in a position where we can use... we don't have our 25 second either, do we? Okay. Well, let's try and keep that 26 first. But we can use a 26 second, for example, to go out and try and go all in with this squad, considering we don't have our 25 first or second round pick at this point. But, I mean, looking at your team, you're in a solid spot, man. You're in a really, really solid spot. I would say that you are a type of team where if a Calvin Ridley gets a big deal in free agency, let's say, I'm just going to throw out a random team. He goes to the Chiefs, 3-year deal. Let's say he goes to the Bills, 3-year deal, right? Name a team where it's exciting. You're in a position with this team where you could either use Keenan Allen or Calvin Ridley. You could package them with an Austin Eckler, with a Nick Chubb, with a Rashawn Johnson, and you could try and go out and get a better running back. This team is definitely SuperFlex. Well, it's technically 2 quarterback league, but 2 running backs. We have 3 flex spots. That's what we're looking at here. So ideally, we can package, like I said, a Calvin Ridley, whoever's going to bring you more in return, and Austin Eckler. And right now, these guys, both of their values could increase once free agency has finished. So just keep that in mind. Right now, it's going to be difficult to do it. But can you go out? I mean, can you include like your 2026 second if you need to? But names that come to mind there. Let's have a look at some running backs that come to mind. Calvin Ridley, Austin Eckler. I mean, can we go out and get a Javonte Williams for one of these names, at the moment? Is that something that you could do? You know, in certain trade calculators, I think that's a possibility. How about a James Cook? James Cook is probably reaching too high, but I would love that deal. There you go. That's on the table. I'm not gonna say it's possible. It's on the table. Saquon Barkley on the table, and not all these deals are going to be accepted. But again, you start a conversation. You try and get your foot in the door. That is another option for you. But again, I think you're in a position where you don't have to make any drastic moves. You have the draft picks available to kind of address some of the needs that you have. I definitely think if you are anti-Caleb Williams, then this is a team that I would totally feel comfortable with trading back from the 101 to. You know, if someone in your league is willing to give you the 101, a future 25 first, and you'll get the 103, for example. Like, I'm completely fine with that. Trade back, take whatever quarterback is available on the board. If they want to give you the 104, a 25 and a 26 first to trade back from the 101, or you could even use the 101 and trade back and try and get a running back. That's probably the last thing that we can talk about as an option. What's a team that needs a quarterback? Team 4's name is awesome. Ankitp96 Team. But like, for example, could you get like Josh Jacobs and the 102 for the 101? Because this guy clearly could use a running back. I'd love to find my way into a Jahmyr Gibbs or a Bijan Robinson. Would he do like Gibbs? Man, that's tough. That's a tough move right there. There might not be a obvious path with that team, because he doesn't have like the tier of running backs that really suit what you need. Who has a 103? Okay, like this guy clearly needs running back or quarterback. But honestly, he's not a great trade target anyway, because look at his team. This is the type of team, though, that I would say I would trade back to the 103. And does he have any? Like, I would ask for his 26 first round pick. I'd ask for his 2025 second. And let's try and grab Swift. You know, some combination of those names. So definitely a team where you can trade back, considering you can go quarterback or wide receiver. Ideally, you go quarterback. I mean, this would be awesome if you could trade back for one of these names. Actually, I feel like if you can get Achane or Kyron and the 105 to trade back from the 101, I like that move too. Obviously, we'll put JT in there. I just think it's more unrealistic if that guy's willing to move up. Maybe he wants to secure a Marvin or a Caleb. So those are the kind of deals that you can look at. But like I mentioned, you don't have to make any move in particular. Your team is in a very good spot. I don't think we have Rojo in the chat with us today, so he'll probably just be watching this back. But overall, I think you're in a very good position. Quarterback room is going to look strong after the draft. If you stay at the 101, you're going to add Caleb, or you'll trade back and add a May or a Daniels. Your running back room, we talked about a bunch of different ways we can improve that through these later running backs in the second round that might fall, through packaging a Keenan or a Calvin Ridley and an Eckler, to go out and get a name. And then, of course, at tight end, you just don't need to really make a move. I wouldn't suggest selling Michael Mayer, even though it's a non-tight end premium league. He's someone that I want to build around, and I think will improve. I'd also probably wouldn't suggest for selling Rashawn or Ken Walker at this point. But obviously, all the other names are on the board. I'd be curious to see what I could get for Geno Smith. I think in a SuperFlex league, you wouldn't really be able to get much return, but in a 2-quarterback format, if I know I'm getting Caleb Williams, Geno might be another name that we can kind of throw around. Again, 2-quarterback. What sort of running back could I get in return? Could I get a DeAndre Swift to this team that has huge needs at quarterback? Could I get a Tony Pollard to this team that, again, has a huge need at quarterback? Obviously, if you do move like that, you're kind of locked into going quarterback at the 101. But bunch of different moves that you can make. I think you're in a fantastic position. You're going to compete. Be careful getting rid of your future draft capital. You want to have flexibility with your team, so just be careful doing that too much. Also, the last thing I'll say is at the 109, if you're in your draft and someone is willing to give you, let's say, their 25 first and a future second, I would totally be willing to kind of look at a move like that, because I think this is a team that could use a 25 first round pick, considering the 25 class is stacked at running back, and that is really your main area of need. Obviously, once we address the quarterback position in the draft. So great team, man. I think you're in the right trajectory. You have your fantasy hotline. Feel free to hit us up if you do have any questions. And, you know, when you watch this back on the stream, feel free to hit us up in the DM as well and ask us if you have, or ask any questions that might have arisen. How do you say, I mean, what's the right way to say that? Anyway, ask us any questions that may have come up while you were watching this team review. But overall, really good team, man. Thank you for the support. Appreciate you big time. All right, the next team we're going to look at is KaptKirk. Is KaptKirk in the chat with us here today? I'd love to know if KaptKirk is with us. Would love to look at his team while he's on the stream. Of course, no obligation, but we'd just like to be able to chat to you guys. I see y'all in the chat, though. What's up, Reedson? What up? What up? What's up, Tony? What's up, Peyton? What's up, Cody? What's up, Major Tuddy? Guys, I'll do a Q&A. I might do a Q&A at the end. Today's stream is really dedicated to people who are supporting us on the channel and helping their teams, just so you know. I agree, Styles. Yes, we are starting early, Pierce. We are starting early. What's up, Derek? What's up? Waha says, hey, yo, my girl hates that I watch y'all every day, so stop streaming so much. Hey, what's your girl's name? I mean, I'll just say, hey, come on. I mean, he enjoys the stream. He enjoys hanging out. Brings him joy. Yeah, let him have some fun. Thanks for joining us, though. But, guys, I am going to get to the next team here. But, again, if you want your team reviewed, it's very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member using the code LAND on the Flock Fantasy website. Once you have signed up with our promo code LAND, you go to account at the top right, you link your Discord, and then you will unlock all the premium channels, including the roster submissions tab. Keeping in mind, by the way, that there is an option to skip the free trial if you hit instant access. Otherwise, you just got to wait for that free trial to end. So keep that in mind. Fernando says, is there a way to sign up with 2 or more creators? Not at the moment, but it is something that we would like to look at long term for sure. I absolutely think it's something that we'd like to look at long term, which would be absolutely awesome. But let's have a look at this team. Again, if KaptKirk's in the chat, let us know. If not, no worries. He'll watch this later. All right, KaptKirk says, hey, guys, I've been a part of the Mother Flocker tier for nearly a year now. I just wanted to get some different ideas on this team. I'm having trouble upgrading from most of these players. I appreciate the time and the content. Yeah, this is funny because KaptKirk, he was actually supporting us all last year. And we were doing team reviews last year, and he just never used it. So I was like, man, you never used your team review? Go ahead. Let's use it here. So I'm glad, first off, that you've been supporting us so long. Appreciate you. And I'm also glad that we're going to be able to look at this team and hopefully help you out. All right, it is a 10-team PPR start 8. Y'all already know. If y'all know this channel, that changes everything. That changes everything. Roster size is 22, 3 taxi squad. It's a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, tight end, and a 2 flex league. And it's 1 quarterback. 1, 3, 5, 6, 8. He says, I finished 4-10, 9th overall in my rankings, and 5th in max points for. I took over this team right before the 2022 draft. It had mostly dead roster. The only valuable asset was a 101 Breece Hall and Amon-Ra. I traded him before he broke out. Got Ayuk in return. The issue I'm having now is finding anyone to trade with. Last offseason, I was able to make moves and happen with ease. Now, unless it's a massive overpay, my league mates won't trade. For example, the guy with the 102 wants Breece, Ayuk, and a future first. That's hilarious. In this class, with no running backs, And in this format, that's hilarious. I traded my first this year for Justin Fields last season. Oof. Yeah, that's tough in a 1 quarterback league. He says, Jace, Jefferson, Lamb are not being traded, so I am trying to move up to that next tier of wide receiver, Garrett Wilson or Amon-Ra. Also, I traded away Fields. Also, I always had Fields or Tua on my bench in their big games. I would like to hear some possible upgrade options at quarterback and tight end. I don't understand the Komet hate in Dynasty. He finishes a tight end 7 and 8 the last 2 seasons and is the same age as Dalton Kincaid. I'm currently 5 guys over the max roster once the season starts, and that doesn't include my 6 rookie picks. Half the league doesn't even open the Sleeper app during the offseason, making it hard to buy low players. Love the channel. Keep up the hard work. Well, I will say, naturally, from what you described, it's going to make trading hard. You know that, but just confirming with you, it's going to make trading hard. If half your league isn't opening the app, and I've been in leagues like that, it sucks. You have to, if you have their number, you have to text them. Hey, did you see that trade I sent? Like, do you have any interest? Can you reply at all? Those kind of leagues they're just not fun. Like, let's be honest. It's just not fun to be in that situation. But hopefully we can talk about some potential moves that you can make and some potential ways to upgrade this team. All right. Everyone knows what I'm going to say. But still, I'm going to say it. 10-team start 8. What do we not care about at all? Depth. Don't care about depth at all. I want the starting roster to be as strong as it possibly can. And I would be fine to have 1 or 2 depth pieces at each position. Max. I need the max win. So, at the moment, you are currently ranked 6th according to Keep Trade Cut's power rankings. And there's definitely some moves that we can make. Let's start here. It looks like you already got Garrett Wilson. I can't remember, Captain Kirk, did we already talk about a deal for Garrett Wilson in your league? Let me look at our fantasy hotline. Yes, you already traded for Garrett before I went on stream. You traded Kendre, Addison, Jacoby, the 109, the 209, and the 309, which sounds crazy. But in this format, I like that deal. In fact, why don't I show everyone on stream the deal that you made? This is the deal that you said, hey, I already made this deal. What do you think? So this must have happened right after you posted your team. So look, guys, in a 12-man start 11 league, this trade doesn't look that hot. But again, in a league where you can start 8 players in a 10-man, I don't think this is an overpay personally. Also considering that 109 is less valuable in a 1 quarterback format. I mean, in a 1 quarterback, is it Tez Walker? Is it one of those running backs? Is it a quarterback? So a lot more questions at that point of the draft. So I think you did really, really well with that deal. And, some people in your league might view that as an overpay. But I like it to get what we are projecting will be a premium player. And I'll just say this. We've said this a lot. But if you were in on Garrett Wilson last year, guys, I mean, you were right. Damn it, you were right. The quarterback play just wasn't there, but the volume was. And clearly, Garrett Wilson is one of the more talented players in the league. Okay? So the volume was absolutely there. NK1 says, this is such a great steal for Garrett, to be honest. Late first, and the rest is junk. In this format, totally. And y'all know I love me some Kendre Miller. So you've already improved your team before the stream has begun. But here's the issue. Your team has no draft capital. So that is always the easiest way for us to improve a certain area of our team. I'll just be straight up with you. It's going to be more difficult because you have literally no picks that people are going to look at and think, yeah, I really want to trade that for something valuable. You have no first round picks. You have no seconds in 2025. So it's going to be difficult to drastically improve through draft capital. That's just the reality. And when I look at the rest of this team, I don't want to lose Achane or Breece in this format. And I don't think these names are going to really garner much interest in your league. Then I look at your wide receiver room. I'm totally happy with these three names. And y'all know I love Jackson Smith and Jigba. In fact, I'll probably keep him too, because let's double check. We can start we can start 4 wide receivers. So we can keep these 4 names. So really, in the margins here, your trade options are kind of Downs, Deontay, Wicks, Tua, and Fields. Because let's be honest, guys. Like, Zach Charbonnet in this format, I could be wrong. I don't believe he's going to get you much return at all. Okay? And what I would say is in this format, like, I'm not going to say picks matter less, but you have a decent team to go out and compete with this format that you're in as well. Chase says, hey, heads up. Donated a super chat, so I'll just see what he's got to say here. He says, hey, heads up. Makes more sense to wait on my team. MFL is currently rolling over to 2024 league, so pretty soon it will show more info. Okay, that's all right. We can do that, Chase. Thank you for the donation, my man. Appreciate you. So really, the margins that we have are slim here to improve this team. Draft capital is not an option. And you have limited players here. So let's go to the whiteboard. How do I phrase this well? Like players on the block, for example. Right, that makes sense. Justin Fields, Tua tags, Zach Charbs. I mean, like I said, I really struggle to think that he's going to get much return in this format. And then we've got Downs, Deontay, Wicks. And Dontavion, right? Is that how you spell it? I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So these are really the names that we can look at trying to move in our league. But what I will say is none of these names are really names that people are like screaming trying to buy. So it might be difficult. But you talked about trying to improve at quarterback. Can we combine, let's say, Tua? Man, I just don't think in this league that's going to work. But let's say Fields and Downs. I wonder what that could kind of yield. Let's clear this calculator and let's put in your league. It's not SuperFlex. Is it tight end premium? I need to remember that. You didn't say tight end premium, so I'm going to go ahead and assume it's not. So non-tight end premium. Full PPR, it is 10 teams. It is start 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's what we are rocking with here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's talk about maybe Fields and Downs. And honestly, let's throw Charbs in there too. Let's try and see if we can get something done without Charbs first. But the names that I would personally be looking for, and to be honest with you, like right now, I think you're just focusing on competing. And if Justin Fields is a starter, he's going to put up fantasy points. We just don't know how long he will be a starter. But names that come to mind for me here would be like an Anthony Richardson. You know, that's a name that I will be trying to go and get. I'd also put the likes of your I think Jalen Hurts is going to be more difficult to get than an Anthony Richardson, but I would certainly put him in that category. I don't know, like, no disrespect to Lamar. I just don't think I would put him in that category right now. Just because of the inconsistencies in fantasy. He's a great NFL player, right? Don't hear what I'm not saying, guys. I feel like you could easily get this done for Kyler. You might be able to go even cheaper here. You might be able to make this like Tua and Downs. That would be awesome. And we'll see who has Kyler in your league. But that is a name that you could look at. So those 4 names are all really good trade targets. And we'll write this down for you as well. And you can come back and look at this whenever you want. This stream will never go away. We talked about Anthony Richardson. We talked about Kyler Murray. Those are really the main names. I mean, CJ is going to be too expensive. I guess you could also put Jordan Love there. But the reason I'm hesitant with like a move like this is because your team is clearly competing. And while I have concerns around Fields being the starter long term, I can also sit here and recognize that if Fields is a starter next year, he will be one of the best fantasy quarterbacks you can have, period. Even though his long-term outlook is very questionable. So have to keep that in mind as we're weighing up the positives and the negatives here. Josh, are you with us? Is this your team? Josh says, I think I could get Kyler for Tua in a third. Absolutely. If you could do that, that would be great. Kyler for Tua in a third definitely would help your team. I wonder what our calculator would say about that. In a third? Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking. I was like, that's a steal if you can get Kyler for 2 and a third. So that's replicated in the calculator here using my rankings. So yeah, 100%. If you can get that done, I would do it. You talked about thoughts on Dak for Tua. I'm kind of indifferent on that one. I do think it probably improves your chance. And I do have Dak ranked 1 spot ahead of Tua. So there's not a huge difference, but I do think if you're competing, he's probably the quarterback that you would prefer more, especially considering what we saw last year. So yeah, I'm totally fine with that deal. I'm totally fine with that. But like I said, you have limited opportunities to upgrade. These are really the names that we feel comfortable moving on from. Brees and Achane, honestly, it doesn't matter what the offer is. Those guys stay on your team, because in a league this small with this small starting rosters, those guys are absolute gold. I would say the same thing about all 4 of these names at the wide receiver spot. The other thing that we could potentially try to do is upgrade at tight end, but that might be difficult. I know you like Cole Kmet, but could we package like Jake Ferguson and Josh Downs? You know, what could that get us? I wonder. Let's say we went let's put this on the receive side. Let's say they get Jake Ferguson, they get Josh Downs. You know, what sort of tight end? It's a non-tight end premium format, so we do have to keep that in mind. But I wonder what's a name that kind of comes to mind here. I mean, you could probably get a Kincaid and just wait on the breakout. I bet you Kincaid and Pitts are both doable there. What does Kincaid say here? So there you go. I think in this format, I would totally be willing to take the shot on a move like this. Kincaid. I think Pitts to an extent as well. But I do think I slightly prefer Kincaid at this point. I doubt you can get a McBride or an Andrews, but certainly if you could, obviously there's no reason to not try. I don't think that goes through, but you could certainly try and get those names. So I would say, like I said, the margins are thin to improve this team because of the lack of draft capital. However, these are the names that we can really play around with and move. To be honest with you, like if you move like 3 of these names for 1 superstar, I don't care. I want the superstar. You know, it just doesn't matter in this league. It truly doesn't matter. Your wide receiver 6, your RB4, your QB2 to an extent really don't matter that much in your format. So yeah, I would say specifically in your format, those are the moves I'd be looking to make. And I think you're also a team who's in a position with these picks to kind of, in the draft, be looking to trade these for seconds next year. So let's say the 301, the 302, people are super hyped about this class. You know, can you get from a mid team or a worse team a second round pick next year? Those are the kind of moves that you could be looking at pivoting to. But yeah, guys like Kraft, guys like Bateman, Palmer, Shakir, Wicks, Deontay Downs, Keaton, Gainwell, I mean, even Charbonnet to an extent, Tua. I would throw in these names to make any sort of superstar deal work. I really would. 100%, I would be willing to do that. But I'm curious. Really, the only names I would say are not available in your league that you should say, nope, not available. Breece Hall, Devon Achane, Garrett Wilson, Ayuk, Nico Collins, and JSN. Outside of those names, everyone else is movable. Everyone else is on the block. And you know, Team 7 would not be a bad trade partner for a Jordan Love, for example. You could send them, like we talked about, Tua and Josh Downs. Their wide receiver room is really, really thin. They might see that as a need. And like, look, in 10-man leagues, it's going to be hard to find weak wide receiver rooms. Let's just be honest there for a sec. Team 3. Could you send Downs and Tua for Joe Burrow? Because that's another move that you can make. This guy definitely needs wide receiver. I know he's about to get Marvin, but he could use even more. So I think those are the main moves that I'd be looking to make. We talked about some pivot moves off of Fields, off of Tua. We talked about using a Downs or Deontay, packaging them to upgrade. We talked about packaging Jake Ferguson with one of these wide receiver names to upgrade at the tight end spot, whether that's a McBride, whether that's a Kincaid. But at running back, like I said, just you don't move those names. Do not move those names. Keep them exactly where they are, because that's where they belong on your team. And I seriously believe that this team is competing for a championship. I know you're ranked 6th, but let's say Justin Fields. What are some names that we've heard? Atlanta, Raiders, Steelers. Those are really the main 3 that we've heard for Justin Fields. If he goes to any one of those teams, we are excited about Justin Fields in fantasy. If he goes to Atlanta with all those weapons, if he goes to Las Vegas with a new offensive mind, with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, if he goes to Pittsburgh with Deontay Johnson, with George Pickens, right? So anywhere Fields goes, he's going to help you win championships this week. So think about it. Your starting lineup right now is Fields, Hall, Achane, Wilson, Ayuk, Collins, JSN, Ferguson. That's a strong starting lineup, man. Assuming JSN takes that next step this year, that's a strong starting lineup. So yeah, those would be the main moves that I would suggest. Like I said, you know, there is very little wiggle room with this team. You know, when you get rid of your future capital, you kind of start to commit to the players that you have. But like I mentioned, I do think there are some moves out there that could be made. So hopefully that is helpful. Great team. You're totally competing this year. So yeah, I think you're in a decent spot. Let me know if you're in the chat, Captain Kirk, if you have any last minute questions, because I am going to move on to the next team here. Sidekick says, catching 2 live streams in 1 week. Also, you threw me for a loop with no Burks in that video. Yes. 25 of y'all haven't dropped a like. Ooh, Okay, a little like update. Yeah, let's set a like goal of 50 likes. Currently 19 likes away from 50, which is awesome. So do us a favor, hit that like button if you have yet to do so. But yeah, guys. Captain Kirk says, all good. I appreciate it. Absolutely, man. Keep in mind, your fantasy hotline is available to you if you do have any questions. But let's go ahead and move on to the next team. Again, big love to Captain Kirk for the support. I appreciate you, man, big time. All right, we got 2 teams done tonight, which is absolutely awesome. We are going on to our third, which is Jungle Cat Prime. Jungle Cat Prime is the next team that we are looking at here today. So let's pull up his team. And while we're pulling up Jungle Cat's team, if you guys want your teams reviewed on this channel, very simple. All you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. All right, I'll put a direct link in the chat. Sign up with our promo code LAND, become a Mother Flocker. You probably want to choose the instant access button so you don't have to wait that free trial out. But once you sign up, go to the top right, click account, link your Discord, and then you will instantly unlock all of the premium channels we offer over on the Discord, including the roster submissions tab. Okay. I do see some questions in the chat. Keep in mind, guys, the purpose of today's video is me helping people who support us on the Flock Fantasy website. So I won't be doing a Q&A today. I will be, trying to interact with the chat as much as I can. But just keep in mind, the purpose of today's stream, the purpose of me being live is to help those people who are supporting us financially over on the Flock Fantasy website. So we want to give them some love for their support. All right, Zach is in the chat, and he says, what's up, man? This is my team. That is awesome. My favorite way to review a team is when the owner's in the chat, because it just feels like a great back and forth. I love that you're here. Okay, so he says, what's going on, fellas? Big fan of the channel. Team name is Sheen Daddy. Shinek Daddy Dynamite. I'm an idiot. Sorry. 10 team, start 9, 1 quarterback, PPR, no tight end premium. He says, I decided to embrace the rebuild last year, started stockpiling picks. I have a feeling this draft will be a little different than your typical 1 quarterback rookie draft because we voted to transition to SuperFlex in 2025. Okay, that's awesome. Looking for any advice on players to target via trade with current draft assets, as well as having a sound foundation going forward. Don't mind the positioning of certain players. I'm over the roster limit at the moment and can't move players around. Cool. So you're transitioning to SuperFlex in 2025. First question I have to ask is, does that mean you are going to be start 10? I'm assuming they're not taking away a flex. I'm assuming they're just adding the SuperFlex. Let me know if that is the case in the chat. Because I'm assuming it is. Your team name. You are currently ranked number 1. You're ranked number 1. You've got a grade of 99 out of 100. And there are some teams in your league that are struggling. Bless their heart. All right, let's have a look. All right, Zach says replacing a normal flex with the super flex. Okay. So it's still going to be a small starting roster then. That means if you're replacing a flex, it'll be quarterback because of the super flex, running back, wide receiver, tight end, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 2 flex. Okay. So essentially 2 flex, super flex, quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver. Okay. So, I mean, I'll just say from the get-go, I am drafting in 2024 like it's super flex. I am not drafting like it's 1 quarterback. That's the first thing I would say. Your transition is 1 year out, so you should be operating right now, especially with you saying that you're rebuilding. I mean, this team looks pretty decent, but especially with you saying that you're rebuilding, I think you absolutely should be operating already as if it is a super flex league. So we've got Justin Herbert right now, but the good news is we've got Danny Dimes. I don't want to disrespect him, but the good news is we have a lot of draft picks to improve that area. So you know what I think this calls for? Someone tell me in the chat. What do you think this calls for? What time is it? It's time for the whiteboard. It is time for the whiteboard. It is whiteboard season. That's right. All right. Let's get rid of these future picks. Well, no, it's not that we won't talk about them, but for right now, they won't help us as we're determining what's the best course of action with these picks. Okay, so all right, this is what we are working with here. A lot of draft capital. Great spot to be in. We have 5 first-round picks in the top 10. We have 3 picks in the first 5. We're in a very, very good position to improve this team. All right, first thing I'll say, these picks, let me just tell you, my friend, they're not going anywhere. These picks are already home. Now, of course, there's always a scenario in which someone gives you a ridiculous deal that you just cannot pass up. You know, let's say someone's still playing as if this is a 1 quarterback format and they give you CJ Stroud for the 102. Like, different scenario, right? You take that deal. If there's anyone in your league who is still operating with their moves in a 1 quarterback fashion, you take full advantage of that. Okay? But let's assume everyone is smart and they're playing it as if it's a SuperFlex league. These picks are absolutely staying. We can talk about what we could do with those. But obviously we're going Caleb Williams here at the 101. And at the 102, we're going Marvin Harrison Jr. Look at how that improves your team automatically. Herbert, Caleb, Danny Dimes. Feel much better about that room. All of a sudden at wide receiver, we have Marvin, Puka, T. Higgins. That's a great room of 3. Now Downs is there. Who knows what happens with him, but that's a great room of 3 to start off with. And then at the 104, we can really do whatever we want, right? That's a May. That's a Daniels. That's a Neighbors. Now, let me ask you, Zach, how do you think your league is going to draft in your rookie draft? Do you think they're going to operate as a 1 quarterback league? Or do you think most people are going to be thinking with a SuperFlex mind? Because the reason I ask that is I assume if they're operating in 1 quarterback, Neighbors will be gone at the 103. So I'm just trying to think in my head how we can play this. Because again, there's 2 names that we keep talking about that could change things in this draft. J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. If those guys go in the first round, we might be able to take Neighbors here. And if people are not valuing quarterbacks yet, we might be able to go a Bo Nix here or a J.J. McCarthy here with one of these 2 picks. The other option with these 2 picks, if you wanted to go Neighbors here, you know what? Let's go full scenario mode. All right. Scenario 1. And we'll talk about these 2nd round picks later. All right, not right now. We'll talk about those 2nd round picks later. Scenario 1, scenario 2. So in scenario 1, we actually grabbed Malik Neighbors. Let's see what Zach's saying. He says the guy with the 103 has Fields and Howell, so I wouldn't be surprised if he takes whatever quarterback he prefers. Okay. So let's say you're getting the vibe that if McCarthy or Nix goes in the first round, they would be available at the 109 or the 110. Let's play that scenario. That's scenario 1. Okay, this is what scenario 1 looks like. Caleb, Marvin, Malik, and at the 109 or the 110, we can go Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy, assuming they go in the first round. And assuming your league doesn't like them. It's easy to hate on these names right now for people, and they're still thinking with the 1 quarterback brain. The other option is we can trade the 109 or the 110 for a quarterback right now at one quarterback prices. Right? In one quarterback league, those quarterbacks are going to be way cheaper. But, you know, like we said, we have to keep in mind, is this a 10-man or a 12? I'm trying to remember. 10 team. 10 team. Right now, we'll leave the SuperFlex button off. And you're a start 9, a true start 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're taking away one of those flexes for a SuperFlex next year. So let's see if we were to, like, say the 109, what quarterback in this format is currently realistic for us? I mean, could you get like an Anthony Richardson in a one quarterback format? Maybe not. Yeah, I didn't think so. Even in one quarterback, I think that's probably a steal. But let's go a little bit further down the board here. Like, what about a Kyler? Kyler is getting disrespected so much in the community. Okay. So that's not realistic either. Wait, you're getting Kyler. You're sending away the 109. Yeah, okay. So let's go down the board a little bit further then. You could look at moving the 109 for like a Brock Purdy. I bet you that's doable. Brock Purdy looks doable. And again, this is if people are operating under the impression that they're in a one quarterback, you know, state of mind. I also think you could probably look at like your Dak Prescott's too. I think that's doable. I know you're a young team, but I think you could turn this around really quickly. I think you could be competing way earlier than you might be anticipating right now. Another great name you could try there is Trevor Lawrence. He does not have much trust from the community right now. I don't think Jordan Love or Kyler's doable. So what were those three names that we just talked about? We talked about Trevor Lawrence. We talked about Brock Purdy. Let me put them in order of my preference, I guess. We talked about Brock Purdy. We talked about Trevor Lawrence. And we talked about Dak Prescott. Only reason Dak is last there is because you are building a younger team. But he's totally an option here. So again, if people are thinking with one quarterback brain, fantastic. Let's take advantage of that. You already said yourself you weren't really looking to compete that much this year anyway. So that's scenario one, and that's a beautiful scenario. Let's play that out, man. What does your team look like, not this season, but next season? So next season, you've got Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, and you've got Purdy, Trevor, or Dak. Oh, that's hot. And what if Daniel Jones becomes something? That's another trade asset for you. Your running back room, clearly a need. But you do have Kendra, which I absolutely love. And that's okay. That can be our last priority. Your wide receiver room would be Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua, T. Higgins. That four right there. Boy, oh my. I mean, your league's going to be in trouble real soon. And then at tight end, you got Ferguson, Musgrave. There's enough there for me to not panic about it. And by the way, we have more picks we haven't even talked about. Child, please. But let's say that Malik Neighbors goes at the 104. At the 103. Okay? That's the scenario we'll play in our head now. Let's just put Jaden Daniels here for fun. All right? It can be Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whatever. At the 109, now you can look at wide receivers here. Is that your Brian Thomas Jr.'s? And of course, draft capital could change all of this, guys, right? I mean, I would throw in Troy Franklin. I know some people don't like him as much as me. I would also throw in Ladd McConkey. I know some people don't like him as much as me. That's kind of the range there, I'd say. Certainly a Dunze won't be available. But could you have a... That's the range you're looking at there for both of these picks. So in this world, Now your starting lineup, again, heading into 2025. We've got Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones. Hopefully Daniel Jones has redeemed himself. At running back, we're rocking the same stuff. But at wide receiver, now we've got Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, I'm sorry. We added Jaden Daniels to your quarterback room. But at wide receiver, we've got Marvin Harrison Jr. We've got one of these three names, maybe two of those three names. All of a sudden, your team's starting to look really strong. And then tight end. So those are the two ways you can go about it. Like I said, and it's a big if, I don't know, but if your league isn't valuing SuperFlex yet, that is how you're going to win your league for years to come. Find the one owner in your league. Maybe they're a win now team. Find the one or two owners in your league who are still playing with the one quarterback mindset. That is how you dominate this league from 2025 onwards. Now, last thing we'll talk about is these picks down here. Your second round picks. You know, at the 201, all of these names are in play. Lad McConkey. You know, I would also put Adonai Mitchell. I will put Xavier Worthy. I will put Trey Benson because you could use some help at running back. Jonathan Brooks. And honestly, all those names are in play as well for the 203. All right, who was available, who fell. And then at the 207, we can take some shots on running backs. I bet you Benson and Brooks aren't there anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's when you start to look at the other guys in the class. Your Bucky Irvings. Your Marshawn Lloyds. Now look, if Marshawn goes in the 6th round, we'll reassess. Blake Corum, Braylon Allen, Jalen Wright. And if one of these names hit, let's say you get a Xavier Worthy, a Benson, and a Jalen Wright with those picks. If Benson hits, but Jalen Wright doesn't, that's fine. I mean, you're going to be in a position where you have two running backs now that you can start. And, by the way, all of these 2025 first-round picks, do you guys know what the strength of the 2025 class is? Running back. It is a ridiculous class. In fact, there are probably 4 to 5 running backs that will be the RB1 this year that are coming out next year, in my personal opinion. So you're in a great position. I guarantee you, anyone watching this stream right now, don't lie, guys. You're looking at this team and you're saying, damn, I mean, I wish I had a team like that. I wish I had a team like that in that position. So you're in a fantastic spot. You know, like I said, there's a couple different scenarios that we can play out. Scenario 1, we talked about pivoting off of the 109 or the 110 if people are operating with one quarterback brain to one of these names. We talked about grabbing neighbors there. This is my favorite scenario for you. Scenario 2 is fine. There's nothing wrong with scenario 2. But I think scenario 1 would be my dream situation if I was in your position. But you've got a great team, man. Feel very good about this offseason. These picks are not for sale, in my opinion. But let me know. Do you have any questions, Zach? I want to make sure I've answered everything. I want to make sure we've covered your team to a T. You know, there is no typically I'll give a team like, this is a guy I want to trade out of. You're not trying to compete this year. You talked about that. And there's no clear veterans on your team that I really want to move away from. You know, is there a way Jaylen Warren gets you a first-round pick? Of course. But there's no vets that I don't feel good building around. And there's no young players that I think give you enough draft capital in return to move off of it anyway. This is a very young team overall. So let me know if you have any questions, Zach. I want to make sure I've answered everything. And while I'm waiting on you, I'm going to turn the AC up a little bit. It is hot as hell here. All right, we back. And Zach says, nah, I'm good, man. I appreciate it. That's awesome. Great to hear, man. Great to hear. Thank you again so much for the support. It genuinely does mean more than you guys know. I know we say that often, but everyone's support means a drastic amount to us. It's very impactful. So thank you. All right, Pinky and the Brian. You're up next, my friend. We are looking at your squad. If you're in the chat, let me know. Just say, hey, I'm here. Would love to know who I'm talking to. Little update, guys. We have a like goal of 50 likes. We are 9 likes away from 50. So do us a favor. If you haven't hit that like button yet, go ahead and do so. And if you want your team reviewed by yours truly, all you need to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. I'll put a direct link in the chat right here, right now. Again, become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. Have to be using the code LAND to get our perks. Link your Discord in the account section, and then you should be able to get access to all of our premium Discord channels. Of course, keep in mind that if you don't skip the 7-day free trial, you'll just have to wait to get your roster reviewed a little bit longer than others. But this is awesome. We've got Mr. Dude here in the chat. He says, I am Pinky and the Brian. So it's great to have you here. Looks like you're from H-Town. I love that for you. I mean, any Texan fan deserves a lot of props. Because, you know, y'all stuck it out, man. Y'all stuck it out. I mean, I'm not a big Rockets fan. That's because I'm an OKC Thunder guy. Have been since day one. And, you know, that James Harden trade is always going to rub me wrong way. But I got to respect the Houston fandom. You know, that Texans team, that was rough for a while. So respect to you. Let's copy this ID here. He says, love all the content and just joined the Mother Flocker tier last week. Team name is Waddleburger. I get it. Whataburger. And let me tell you, Whataburger is God in Texas, isn't it? I mean, that feeds families weekly by the millions. All right, it is a 12-team SuperFlex tight end premium. So all the works, half PPR and 1 PPR for tight ends. It is 1 quarterback. No, it's not SuperFlex. My bad. 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end, a single flex spot, and a super flex. Okay, that's rare to see a single flex, but there's 3 wide receivers. So really we're rocking with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a start 9, but it is a 3 wide receiver instead of a 2 flex like we looked at last time. He says, I won the league this past year and have the 102. But I lack depth in quarterback and running backs. Looking to take Marvin at the 102. Caleb is going 101. Thinking of using Ayuk, Waddle, or Collins to help running back or quarterback depth. Have a hard time getting any traction with Gibbs, Bijan, Brees, JT, Etienne, and CMC. Thought about Kyron, but haven't tried just yet. Appreciate any thoughts or advice on the situation, and thanks in advance. Mr. Dude says not for the Astros, though. Yeah, I mean, they've been killing it. They have been absolutely killing it. But all right, let's have a look at the team. 12-team Waddleburger. So you are ranked number 1 again. So you're in a great spot. You're in a very good spot. Superflex, start 9. There is a tight end premium here. And you are welcome on this channel at any time because we have another Kyle Pitts truther in the chat. I know it's been rough, guys. It's been rough. We're still waiting. We're still waiting. But we are patiently waiting. But okay, we've got Stroud. We've got Herbert. We've got Howell. So really, we only have 2 quarterbacks that we feel good about. At running back, you have Ken Walker, Isaiah Pacheco. I don't feel like you need to make any drastic moves at running back. We'll talk about that in a sec. At wide receiver, you have Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Ayuk, Waddle, Nico Collins. And at tight end, you have Kyle Pitts. So in this league, you can start 4 wide receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, here's the issue, though. If we're going to pivot down from Waddle or Collins, We need to pivot down and get a startable wide receiver along with a running back, except you seem 100% certain that you're going to get Marvin at the 102. So that could change things. So you're right. Ultimately, Collins and Waddle seem to be movable pieces. You know, the other option, who has those big names like Bijan and stuff? Bijan and Gibbs. The other option, and is there a way you could get your hands on Gibbs and the 105 to move back from the 102? I mean, we're talking about this team that has Addison, Reed, Godwin, Ridley, Brown, Mooney. I mean, they could use a Marvin Harrison Jr. And they clearly need to use a 103 and the 105 on quarterback as well. That is something that we could discuss. This person doesn't have an obvious trade back option. Bijan. What does the Bijan team have? So he's going to take Caleb. I doubt. Yeah, it doesn't. This guy's not going to give you Bijan because look at his running back room. He's not going to live with Cam Akers, is he? So yeah, that might be a little tough. I mean, look, what I would say from the rip, dude, is I don't feel like you really have a desperate need to address running back right now. When I heard you say that, I assumed like Jalen Warren was your RB1 or something. Now, look, is Ken Walker and Isaiah Pacheco like, you know, elite top tier running backs? No, but I also think they're more than enough to be starting assets for you. Now, I do think because you're about to get Marvin, one of these names is movable. And I guess that could be Waddle. If Waddle's going to give you the most return, then I'm happy for that name to be Waddle. But yeah, why don't we see, let's use our trade finder here. Let's see what trades have happened for Jalen Waddle in the last couple days. Let's try and see what your settings are too. Superflex, Titan Premium, Dynasty. Okay. Dynasty. We'll just leave all that on. And you're in a 12-man. All right, these are all the trades that have happened. These are all real trades on Sleeper's database. I like this kind of move for you, to be honest. That's what I was thinking. Like some sort of like pivot where you go Waddle to ETN, but you upgrade. You upgrade at a draft pick. Who has ETN in your league? Sheesh. I mean, look, the guy who has Gibbs could certainly move off of him. Look at his running back room. Why don't we see deals that have happened for those two names? Yeah, none that have happened super recently. But yeah, let's look at ETN. Who has ETN in this league? So Team 6 has ETN. I wonder if you can do like a... I wonder if this kid would be open to like a trade that looks like this. Let's say we get ETN, we get a 2025 first, and we give him Waddle and a 2025 second. And let's update this to your league. It's full. We'll just call it full. There is tight end premium. It's 12 man. It is 12, right? Yeah. Quarterback 2, 3, 1, 1. 2, 3, 1, 1. 2, 3, 1, 1. Okay. That's the kind of move I'm trying to make right there. If that's possible, that is perfect. Because while we don't want to lose Waddle, you can. You will still have Jefferson, Lamb, Marvin Harrison Jr., Brandon Ayuk, Nico Collins. So he is 100% an asset that you can afford to lose. Let's see what other deals I have out there that have happened recently. I wonder if any Kyron Williams deals have happened, because you talked about Kyron recently. What would the chat do? Would the chat in this scenario with the wide receivers he's got, would they be... See, we see someone here who pivoted off of Jalen Waddle to Kyron Williams and Marvin Mims. I would not mind... I think... I don't think I want to go Kyron with that team, but it is close because you've already got a Pacheco there. So again, we're not desperate to make a move. I wonder if we can get Breece Hall. What if we did something like this? We go Breece Hall and I could try and get Trey in there too. Breece Hall and Trey. It is tight end premium. That might not work. But he's got the running backs. Breece Hall. Let's try and use Isaiah Pacheco here instead of Waddle. Breece Hall, Pacheco. And we can add like Nico Collins or Waddle, whatever going to get you more return. And what's a name that we would want back in this deal? Looking at this guy's team, like a Mike Evans, for example. I wonder how doable that is. Or a Baker Mayfield. You could afford to add another quarterback outside of Hal. So I'd say a Baker or Mike Evans could work there. Yeah, I like that Baker move because you could really afford to add a third quarterback outside of Sam Howell. We talked about Mike Evans. You know, that's an option. I would rather grab Baker for this team. Again, because we don't really need wide receiver. And if we're going to get Marvin at the 102, we could really use an upgrade at our quarterback 3 spot. So I think that's actually my favorite deal we've talked about so far. So if that's possible, I definitely love that idea. Again, all these ideas I'm throwing out, try the ones that you like. The ones that you don't like, don't try them. But it's only going to be 100% rejected if you don't offer it, right? Now, another team that does not have their 2025 first round pick. Everyone's teams that I've been reviewing for the past 2 weeks, you guys are allergic to 2025 picks. What's going on? What is going on? But yeah, I think this team is quite straightforward, to be honest. I mean, at the 102, you're either going to grab Caleb or Marvin, whoever's there. You seem like you feel confident it's going to be Marvin. I think this team is absolutely a team that could take Caleb if he's there. I have no problems doing that. At the 306 and 312, it's simple. You just go best player available. We'll release our rankings when you know, the NFL draft has concluded and everything, so you can see who would be our best player available at that point. But I don't see a big move for a tight end right now. I'd probably just hold on to Pitts. Maybe at the 306 if a Sanders falls, or like, you know, take a shot on a Sanat or something like that. Cade Stover maybe. But yeah, really, we want to use Collins or Waddle to ideally upgrade at running back and get a QB3. But we just talked about that deal right there. That's my favorite deal that I think is out there for you. And by the way, if this needs to be Waddle, that is totally fine. If they need Jalen Waddle because he was a first-round pick, that's totally fine in my eyes. In fact, I would even be willing to offer both of your third-round picks to make that happen if they need it. Mr. Dude says, how to use my 25 first to get Pacheco and the ship. Okay, fair enough. Hey, look, if you won the championship, then it doesn't matter what you paid. You know, you're a champion. That's ultimately the goal at the end of the day. But yeah, I would say Stroud and Herbert, we're holding on to for sure. Ideally, we get a QB3 with one of those deals that we talked about. You know, if a Spencer Rattler falls to 306, we could look at him there. Probably won't if he goes in the second round. At running back, I don't think you aggressively need to make a deal, but we talked about some deals out there for Etienne. We talked about Brees. At wide receiver, you're in a fantastic spot. You're absolutely killing it. And at tight end, you just got to hope for the Kyle Pitts breakout. Now, I wouldn't mind using Nico Collins or Jalen Waddle in a Laporta deal here. Who has Laporta on in your league? Well, that guy has 2 top tight ends. Okay, so does he. So I bet you Laporta is available. And he could use some wide receiver help. It is a tight end premium. I really love that deal. But let's say we receive Laporta. They receive Nico. I mean, how far off is this? And a tight end premium is probably... our calculator is saying that you lose. I don't think you do. In this tight end premium format, I think you can afford to make that deal. But let's go even further and let's add Etienne in here. How could we add Etienne in that deal with Laporta? We add Etienne. We add Pacheco to the other side. Certainly, if that deal is possible, you pull the trigger on it. I wouldn't mind putting all the third-round picks that you have in this class to make that more possible as well. If you need to add both of those third-round picks to get the deal done, certainly add them. I have no problem adding Noah Brown in there either. Or even like if you need to add a 2025 third or something, we'll get that deal done. I think that deal will be great for you. But there you go. That's like 5 to 6 to 7 ideas that you could potentially improve your team with. Less need for a whiteboard for your team because your picks are pretty much solidified. I mean, look, anything can change. But at the moment, the 102, you know what you're doing. It's Caleb or it's Marvin. And either way, that's fine. You know, that's a need of your team. But yeah, let me know if you have any specific questions outside of what we've already talked about. I think your team's in a great spot. I think you're going to be competing for another championship. Just remember, if Pacheco helped you win this year, hey, why can't he help you next year? So you don't have to make any drastic moves, but you certainly can explore the market and see what deals are out there. We talked about some deals that you can make this year. The team that you're competing with is probably one of these teams at the top. And their teams are pretty good too, but they have some weaknesses. But yeah, I think you're in a great spot, man. Y'all know I don't love not having my draft capital, but for this team, I can see why. Man, is that air on? It must be so hot today. Let me know if you have any final questions, my man. What is the temperature today? Oh, gosh. It's going to be over 100 degrees. That's why it's hot. Give me 1 sec. All right, Mr. Dew says, I'm good. I appreciate all the help. Thanks again. No worries, man. I'm glad we could be a help. That's always the goal. But I do appreciate you. Appreciate your support, man. It's very, very kind of you. All right, we got through 3. How many teams have we gotten through today? 1, 2, 3, 4. I got one more in me. We'll go through 5. And I believe Chase, yeah, he dropped a super chat earlier saying he wants to wait on his. So we'll wait on Chase's. That means that the next team up. Who is the next team up? Let's see. Is Ankitp. So let me just let them know. Ankitp about to grade your team. All right, let's have a look. All right, here we are. Last team of the day. Let me know if you're in the chat with me, by the way. Ankitp. But it is a 12-team SuperFlex tight end premium full PPR. So 1.5 point per reception for tight ends. The lineup is 2 quarterbacks. So SuperFlex or 2 quarterback? Because obviously that changes things a little bit. Not drastically, but a little bit. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, 2 flex, 20 bench spots, 4 taxis. Hey guys, just joined the Mother Flocker tier, but have always been a viewer of your content along with Mason and the rest of the gang for a few years now. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for the support. Appreciate you big time. Again, anyone out there who does want their team reviewed, become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. I'll put a link in the chat for you. I appreciate the time and love for everything that you and Badaki do, so thank you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the support. Started this Dynasty League 2 years ago. After the first year tanking and acquiring Bijan, I decided to go for the win in year 2. Traded for players like Kupp, Kelsey, JJ, Eckler, and Debo, thinking I was set for a run. As you know, every single one of those players were hurt for an extended period of time or just flat out underperformed. Yeah, that is tough. Yeah, you had some rough luck there, didn't you? Decided to sell most of these players as I was losing too many matchups and was on the outside looking in for playoffs. I wanted to capitalize on their values before they decrease as they were getting older and were getting hurt. I had little draft capital at that time, but I decided I needed depth to add younger players. Got players like Zay Flowers, Ferguson from trading those previous pieces, but mainly I gained draft capital. I have the 102, 112, and 208 this year with the 2 first rounds. Was definitely going Caleb or May at the 102 with Fields and Watson as my main starters right now. The team picking at the 101 also has the 104, so he has a decent quarterback room, so I'm thinking he will go Marvin at the 101, then pick between May and Daniels at the 104. I have 2 25 firsts and 4 25 seconds. I also have 2 26 firsts to work with. Was considering trading the 2024 112 for a 25 first and more after watching your previous video on exploiting the league. I love that. It's a great deal for you. I feel like this team can be a year or 2 from competing, but I would love to hear any of your advice. Also, hello from Virginia. I read you were from there. Yes, that is right. Yeah, I grew up, I guess, like DMV area, you know. I grew up a Virginia Cavalier fan. My dad would take us to Charlottesville. You know, he worked for everything he had in his life, and it was very much paycheck to paycheck growing up. But, I mean, my dad went from living off of food stamps to providing for his family. And one of the things that he took a lot of pride in, which I am very grateful for, is season tickets to watch the Virginia Cavaliers. Although every time we went, we were absolutely dominated by any team we ever watched. I mean, it was hilarious. I'd be sitting in those stands. I mean, you know, the little intros that they do, the Cavalier would come out on the horse, and then you'd see like on the big screen, if it was like the Seminoles or whatever, be like murdering. I mean, now thinking about it, probably they don't do that anymore. But at the moment, when I was a kid, this is what, 20 years ago, you know, they had like the pre-game, there'd be this video of the Cavalier, you know, like putting his knife into a Seminole. Again, thinking back, I mean, Yeah, they definitely couldn't do that anymore. That's dicey. That's a dicey situation now that I think about it. But yeah, so I grew up. I mean, Virginia Cavaliers in my blood. That is my main college team. I also support Oregon. Just because my grandma is from that area and she made me like Oregon. But we got in, how do I say your name well? I want to say it well. My bad. Ankit? Is it Ankit? And you said that you went to UVA. Look, if you went to UVA, that tells me that you are a very, very smart person. Because while we aren't the best athletic school, that mostly has to do with the fact that it's so difficult to get into UVA. Because you got to be pretty damn smart. So that's awesome. What did you study there? He says, luckily I was there during their good days. That's awesome. You know, I didn't see Chris Long, but if you guys remember Matt Schwab. You guys remember Matt Schwab? I am fairly confident. I remember watching Matt Schwab. Yes. He played for the Texans. I don't know if y'all remember that. But I remember these years when he was our starting quarterback. He was actually balling, man. Matt Schwab was balling. I remember those years. And then I'm pretty sure he played for the Texans. Didn't he lead them to the playoffs one year? I'm pretty sure he led the Texans to the playoffs. Yeah, that was in 2012. I remember that. But anyway. Fun player, man. Texas Legends. Yeah, all right. All right now. And Ankit says data analytics and mastered in health informatics. You know, if I can't even pronounce it, it's probably mean you're doing really well in life right now. You're probably living well, which is awesome. I'm happy for you and hopefully the fam. But okay. We got an update. He says traded the 112 mid to late second Mooney Sky Moore for Ayuk. This is the trade that we just talked about in the hotline, isn't it? I think I told you that's the cheapest I've seen Ayuk go in a long time. Like, this was Ayuk prices last year. You know, when we were buying him last year. Before he finished, what was it? A top 12 wide receiver this year? He was wide receiver 14, but on a per game basis better. So, I am personally surprised that you got him that cheap. You should feel absolutely great about that deal. You really, really should. But let's look at the team here. Again, we did rebuild. We were winning. It's a SuperFlex league. Tight end premium. Okay. And the team name. What was the team name again? Just Him Fields. I like that. I haven't heard that one much. That's a nice one. All right, let's have a look at the squad here. Just Him Fields. At the moment, they have you ranked 4th in the power rankings with a grade of 76 overall. Let's have a look at the old team here. So at quarterback, we have Fields, Watson, and that's really it. At running back, we have Bijan. That's really it. At wide receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Ayuk, Smith, Flowers. That's a really great room right there. All 4 of those names. At tight end, we have Jake Ferguson, Chig, Cole Turner, Brevin Jordan. Remember, in a tight end premium format. So we do have the 102. And yeah, I mean, look. Wide receiver really isn't a need for you. But at the same time, you could take Marvin still with this team. I'm not saying you have to, but you could. I would say Marvin, May, Daniels, all in play at the 102. Of course, draft capital will really help us determine which route we should take. You did mention that the 101 is going Marvin. And yeah, let's be honest. It's very unlikely that this team doesn't go Marvin with the wide receiver room that they have and the quarterback room that they have. I mean, that is one hell of a team. They did a great job. But yes, we're in a good spot. I don't think we're actually that far off from competing. You know, if we play our cards right here, we might be in the playoffs this year. But the picks that we have is the 102 and the 208 this year. Those are really the only picks that we have, the 102 and the 208. So at the 102, I would say let's stay fluid with this conversation. You've got your fantasy hotline. I would say you're definitely a team that could trade back from the 102, by the way. Wait a second. If the 101 we think is going Marvin, then we're probably getting Caleb. I mean, it would make very little sense for this team not to go Marvin, given the picks that they have and given the needs of their team. So I would say you're very likely to end up with Caleb, and that's a great situation. I don't know why that didn't click until just now, but that's great. So we'll probably have Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, and it's a start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Start 9. So we'll probably be starting Fields, Caleb, Bijan. I don't know who else you're going to start actually outside of that name. Jefferson, Ayuk, Smith, Flowers. That's 8. And then Jake Ferguson. Dude, you're probably competing next year. You probably are. I think at the 208, we've talked about this with some other teams. But just like I mentioned with this team here, we talked about them at the 207. At the 208, all these names are in play for you as well. Bucky Irving, Marshawn Lloyd, Blake Corum, Braylon Allen, Jalen Wright. I don't think Benson or Brooks are going to be in play. I think they'll be gone, way gone. But absolutely, those names are in play there without a doubt in my mind. In fact, I don't know, man. I might pivot for a veteran running back to pair with Bijan because I actually think you have a chance to compete year one, as in this coming year. Ankit says, I got super unlucky with injuries last year. He says, yeah, because the top guy has 104 as well, so he will get a top quarterback. Yeah. I think we should target a veteran running back for this team. I don't really want to use the 208, but we could. Next year, we have we have 2 first-round picks in the next 2 classes. Let's not use those. Ideally, those are going to stay exactly where they are. We've talked about this before. The 25 class's strength is the running back position. So let's leave those 25 firsts. You know, your like mindset right now should be that you're playing with house money. Because let's say week 10 rolls around and you're like the number 3 seed. Hey, we're playing with house money. We got picks. We're going to improve next year. You know, we got a lot of picks left still to improve this team. We're playing with house money at this point. So keep in mind, you don't have to make these moves right now. It might be smartest to wait until free agency and the NFL draft has happened to really identify those veteran running backs that are good buys right now. But if we look at my rankings, like some names that came to mind, let's throw out these names. These names are not realistic, okay? Obviously, a James Cook, if you can get James Cook for a second, of course. He would perfectly suit your team right now. Same for Javonte Williams, by the way, if he costs a second. But let's say that free agency has happened, the NFL draft has happened, and it looks like Alvin Kamara is in a prime spot to be a starter. Ramondre Stevenson, Joe Mixon, Tajay Spears. These aren't my rankings. These must be the community rankings. I need to update them. But let's say James Conner comes back and they didn't draft anyone in the first 6 rounds, right? Like all those names that I just mentioned, I think it would be worth it to try and send off one of the second round picks that you have next year. You can try and use one of the picks that you feel the worst about, like send one of those seconds that you think is going to be the lowest. But I think, and you don't have to do it right now, that this team is in a prime position to go get a Derrick Henry, to go get an Aaron Jones, a James Conner, a Najee, a Mixon, a Kamara, a Ramondre. Of course, I think your dream, a Monty, put Monty in there too. Your dream situation is getting Javonte or James Cook. You can add Pacheco in there too for sure. But look, right now, you don't need to make that move. Let things settle. But you're 100% a team that I think is much closer to competing than you might be originally thinking. Because again, your starting roster is going to be Justin Fields, Caleb. You'll have Deshaun Watson as your QB3. Bijan, is that Kamara? Is it Bijan? Is it James Cook? Is it Bijan? Is it Derrick Henry? Then you've also got Jefferson, Ayuk, Smith, Flowers starting, and Jake Ferguson. And then whatever you have at the 208 is a bonus. Is that a Bucky Irving? Does he, do something big? Is it a Braylon Allen? Is it an Audric Estime? Is it a Blake Corum? Marshawn Lloyd? Jalen Wright? And then you don't win the championship this year. That's fine. But the main area of need that you need to improve, you got 25 picks. And you got 2 picks in 2025 to improve that area. So you should be feeling very good right now. You should be feeling very good. Now, let's say that team 1, for whatever reason, goes Caleb Williams at the 101. I think you're in a position to trade back. I really do. Because we want him to take Marvin with our current team needs. But who's inside that top 5 that you could trade back with? If this team has a huge preference at the 102 instead of the 103, you could trade back with them. Could you target a Rashee Rice in return? Could you target a Tajay Spears? As silly as it sounds, because you want a quarterback, I'd be willing to move back from the 102 to the 103 for a Tajay. You might be able to get Tajay and Kendre, right? That's definitely a move that you could do, or you could at least inquire about. So I think those are some of the moves that you can make. You got time, you got all the resources you need to build a complete team, and you've got your fantasy hotline as well, which is always available. Ask ETNC's in here. Could he be a team we trade back with? Would he trade up to the 102? Look, I'll be honest, looking at his team, I don't think he would. He doesn't have any needs. But would he be willing to go from the 105 to the 102, get you Kyron Williams, and then you add your second round pick, right? I mean, would he be willing to do something like that, where you receive Kyron, you receive the 105, he receives the 102 and the 208, right? Like if something like that is possible, we don't have individual second round picks. But obviously you do that. You do that in a heartbeat because you've got flexibility with your current team needs. But yeah, man, you're in a great spot. You really are. I think you should be excited about this team. Don't rush the process. Don't feel like you have to trade these picks in and go out and compete exactly this year, because those picks will gain value this time next year. But Ankit, I want to leave time as well and let you ask me any questions that you have. Last thing I'd say, we are not moving Bijan for anything. We're not moving Justin Jefferson for anything either. Those are the 2 guys that are just not going away from our teams. Now, Justin Fields, when he gets traded, I would have no issue trying to pivot off him to like a Jordan Love, a Brock Purdy, certainly Kyler Murray if that's possible. But of course, we don't have to do that either. Joe Burrow for sure if that's possible. Some people are getting low on Joe Burrow recently. But stay fluid with that. He says, you're right about the house money part. Yeah, man. Like, I'm an OKC Thunder fan, but like you're kind of in their position where it's like no one's taking you seriously. But watch, you're gonna be in the playoffs. You're gonna be a force. But let me know if you have any last minute questions, my man. I want to make sure and give you all the time that you know that you deserve for supporting the channel. But I do appreciate you a lot. It's awesome to have someone who is another Virginia Cavalier person. At least we got basketball, right? At least we got basketball. Ankit says, I think I'm paranoid because of last season's injuries. Yeah, I get it. You had Watson who went down. And you had those other names that you went all in with that you no longer have. But, dude, you did a very good job of turning this team around. With all those vets that you talked about, you said you had Cup, Kelsey, Eckler, Debo. You did a very, very good job of turning this team around. For real. What's up, Chef? Welcome in, my man. Welcome in. But guys, that is going to be the last team for today. Got through 5 teams today, which means that we'll get to Matty Lowe's next week. Same with Simon, Mr. Reedson, and obviously Chase as well. We'll get to all those next week. Awesome. Ankit says, appreciate it, Zach, and much love. Hey, much love to you, man. And enjoy the beautiful state of Virginia. Virginia's for lovers. But thanks for the support. I appreciate you, man. Thank you to everybody who's supporting the show. Really appreciate the support from everyone. But have a good night. Have a good rest of your weekend. We'll see you soon. Combine next week. Everything's going to pop off here real soon. All love.